high school class project, my teacher told me it's unrealistic being a CEO. It's been my dream to be a CEO since I was 10. So I told her, it is realistic. Follow me on my journey to learn what it takes to become a CEO.
So the Realistic CEO podcast. You're probably wondering why we have two guests here. So this is actually the first episode where we have two guests on the podcast at once. So this is going to be a special episode. So I appreciate you both for coming on to the Realistic CEO podcast today. So can you tell us a little bit about what you guys both do here at the Good Dog Spot?
Sure. The Good Dog Spot, our vision is to be the most trusted source for pet care in the Pioneer Valley. So we offer dog daycare, we offer boarding services for dogs and cats, we offer grooming services for dogs and cats, we offer some training with our day school and our puppy programs. I do the big picture stuff, and Cory does more of the day-to-day operations and what actually happens in the building.
Can you tell us a little about your journey and how you guys started this and what made you guys come together to want to work with each other?
Sure. And I don't think Cory had a choice, but let me start off before he came into the picture. I always like to tell people that my mom never let me have a dog when I was a kid, and that's what fueled all of this. When I was growing up and I had jobs, I started working in boarding kennels and getting involved with the animal industry. And I really saw this hole in the Western Mass area. There was a lot of maybe boarding facilities where you had dogs and like chain link kennels, and they were safe and cared for. But there was this model coming up from California, Texas, different places where the dogs were getting more off-leash care, more enriched. It was more tailored to the dog rather than just put them in cages and keep them alive. So that's really what kind of started. That was just this like moment in time where I was like, okay, there's more to this, and I really feel like we could do it. So we opened in 2007. I got a small bank loan and maxed out a handful of credit cards. We quickly outgrew our first location. We ended up here in 2009. This is our Chicopee location. That's when I met Cory, actually, was 2009. And he probably thought I was just this crazy dog lady doing weird things in my spare time because I worked at Mass Mutual full time at that point. And then from there, we grew, we got married, and we had our first child. Cory has a management background. He's got a strong business background. And when we chose to have children, it just made sense that I could do more and be more involved with my kids, so our kids, and Cory could step in. And that's really when our growth started. We've always had growth, but you really doubled the numbers in a short period of time.
That's awesome. So for you, what is it like working with your wife here? And like you were able to see her vision, like, yeah, I would definitely be a part of this journey.
Yeah, it's wonderful and challenging all at the same time. I had at the time when I took over here, I was foreman for a roofing company. I always had a background in managing people, and she wanted to step away a little bit and raise our first daughter, and asked if I would leave and come here and manage the day-to-day ops as well as the people here. I think we had 12 or 14 employees at the time, and we were getting ready, looking for more space because we had more demand in the area. And I was all for it. I was all for coming and uniting together here and working together. And it certainly had some positive aspects to it, to be able to have one goal and kind of one vision here and not be separated all the time. Having Elizabeth be able to step away and be with our children, it was certainly a blessing. It worked out well. And we quickly grew from 2013 when I took over to 2015. We doubled the amount of size here, doing a big renovation in 2012, and then we added a new location in 2016 in Northampton, and now we have 45 employees, take care of clients all over the country.
Wow. So when you joined the team, you guys are able to grow tremendously. So what was something that you were able to do and implement that allowed you to grow as fast as you did?
For me, I think it was just finding space to meet the demand. I think at the time we were just capped out because of space. A lot of it was just actually having usable space to increase our numbers. We wanted to do things the right way, so we only had so many, say, boarding suites where you could effectively keep dogs overnight. And at the time, we had 15 or so. So how can we generate enough revenue to double that number so we can house dogs a night? We needed space. Daycare was a square footage requirement, or really for the amount of dogs you need in the area, how much you...
I'm going to interrupt you just for safety.
Yeah.
It's nothing like regulating us that says it, but for
There's guidelines.
We say we have to do it, like you said, the right way. So when you go and you talk about staff to dog ratios or space ratios, we weren't just cramming our dogs into a small space.
Correct. Trying to find ways within the building, working with the landlord, trying to secure more space. And then eventually we had nowhere else to go here. So we looked for a second location in 2016 and we found it in Northampton and out at King Street. And that was certainly going to change both of our jobs and what we were doing. I certainly had no idea what we were getting into, separating our time, energy, efforts into two different locations, two sets of employees all trying to pull for one goal. But Northampton was really receptive and took off right from the start.
So for the both of you, how did you guys know that it was time to make that second location? You talked about how you knew that you needed it for more space, but like, when did you know that was like the right time? Like, okay, this is the time we need to expand.
Well, truthfully, I don't know that we knew it was the right time. We said, and this is typical for us, we said, maybe we should start looking around and start seeing what's there. We met with a realtor and she called 2 days later and said, there's a place in Northampton that might be great for you. Or I said, probably not. And we went and saw it and said, wow, this really would give us a blank canvas. It would be pretty great. And then it started with the what ifs and then meeting with our banker. And I mean, our bank has been fabulous in supporting us all along the way. So it really was about that we were like, okay, let's do this in 6 months or 12 months. It was just like putting the feelers out there and being open to what might come our way.
And I think our reputation here was so good that we were pulling clientele. We live in East Hampton. We knew people in our town that were using our services in Chicopee, and we were getting a pull here of people, I feel like, who are dropping their dogs off for daycare, driving all the way out here from Northampton. And, I think there was enough anecdotal evidence between our relationship with the community living right next door to there and from some client feedback that it was the right time. And
yeah. And Northampton is a very dog-friendly city, and so I think that also helps. And we weren't so close to Chicopee that we were going to be like stepping on our own toes, but it did diffuse things here a little bit and help kind of settle these numbers down. And we were so close to capacity to have that option going somewhere else.
You talked about how you like Northampton, like that's you're familiar with that area. So was that like a big factor in on why you added a location over there, or was it more like this is just like the right space for us for our business?
I think we felt like the clientele was, as we go through and deal with our marketing company and talk about what our ideal client looks like. I think Northampton really, in that area, Northampton, East Hampton kind of was more suited us location-wise from us. It was perfect. The way it works out now is Chicopee's 20 minutes from our house, 20 minutes from Northampton, which is 20 minutes from our house. It just worked out for the best thing for the two of us as our family started expanding, and we thought that clientele-wise, it was exactly the clientele we needed.
So I want to go back to when you talked about why you started this. You said you've seen the model out west in California. Okay, how can I make this happen over here in Western Mass? So how are you able to like do the research and then realize, okay, this is how I'm going to run the business? And how did you make it become successful?
I think what was happening was I actually sat on the board of directors for the trade association, the American Boarding Kennel Association. And that gave me some real invaluable just perspective and insight into numbers and what you really needed in order to be profitable. And then my kind of brain works in a systems kind of a thing. Like, okay, we know that we want to create a certain experience and we want that to be able to be duplicated. We want every client that walks through the door to have that same experience, that same personalization. So being able to take those two things and say, okay, people really love their dogs and they're treating them more and more like family. How do we give them something that takes care of takes care of the dog in a way that's rewarding and fulfilling for the dog, but gives the client, the human client, something as well. So I really think that early on, things like our monthly parties, like doing a big Halloween party or a big Christmas Santa photos, I think those things really fed into to our target clients, what they were looking for. Makes them feel good, like their pets aren't just home bored all day. They have somewhere else that they can be. And that just transfers, well, if they're going to be here for a day while they work, why not leave them with us for a week while they vacation? It was a natural progression to go from service to service. So we're like a one-stop shop. You don't have to go down the street to get your dog groomed and leave them 2 towns over when you go away. It's everything in one room. And we really put an emphasis on safety. And I think that also ties back to my experience within the trade industry. We try to go the extra mile in terms of making sure our staff are certified in first aid and CPR. Cory and I are both PAC certified. That's an independent third-party certification process specifically for the pet care industry. So I like to think that those kind of things helped us along the way as well. Just showing that we weren't just playing with dogs. Because I feel like for a while, our market got saturated with that sort of thing. Like people were cashing out their retirement plans and be like, oh, dog daycare, that sounds fun. I love to play with dogs. And it's great. I love playing with dogs too, but you also have to love, I don't know, dogs are destructive. You got to fix them. They're also dirty and they can like bodily functions. Like there's a lot more to it than just playing with dogs. And I think
as well as the business aspect.
yeah.
In 145 people, it's a lot of work and a lot of time and energy, and you want to do right by every one of those 45 employees. It takes diligence, it takes work, and not everyone who starts a business like ours and thinks it's just playing with dogs all day is quite a task.
Yeah, good point.
So I like how you talked about how you guys love working with dogs, but you also have to understand it's a business as well. So how are you able to manage 45 employees from both locations?
Cory, that's all you.
Yeah, so I think luckily we have great managers in place who we rely on, and where I can basically touch base with them and filter stuff down through them. I do make myself available to anyone at any time. If it's the 16-year-old kennel attendant just starting with me over the summer, or if it's a manager who's been with me for 10 years, I try to be sure that everyone always knows my door's open. Whatever you need, how can we make you comfortable and succeed here? I think, like Elizabeth spoke to earlier, having systems in place and procedures so that a new employee can step in and read how things are done, digest how things are done in a way that works for them, and then we give people rope during training to learn it. Working with dogs, especially in daycare, it takes time to read body language, to make sure that we're safe. We try to give people enough rope to learn the systems that have proven to work for us over time.
So how are you guys able to build successful systems so where you were able to duplicate it into going into another location?
How? I think we started with a core, like we broke it down by services. Okay, what do we want a grooming appointment to look like? What do we want a dog's daycare experience to look like? What do we need from a safety perspective? And then it was really an awful lot of documentation and a lot of holding each other accountable. Because that's the thing. When it was just, say, me and Lisa, our groomer, if I hadn't done it, she had. And that was great. It worked well. And then you added maybe 2 new people. Then all of a sudden you found where you could maybe drop the ball. Because if it wasn't just me and you, then it could have been somebody else. So it was easy to say, all right, this is how we've got to do to streamline it and how to build those systems. And then even being able to put times to it. Okay, if you're going to clean a kennel run, should it take you 10 minutes? Should it take you 25 minutes? And obviously they vary, but those are the ways that we can set some stricter parameters and keep it consistent between the 2 locations as well.
So can you both tell us how you were able to take your previous careers and took all the information you learned and implement it to what you're doing now?
Sure.
I'll start. I enjoy managing people. I enjoy blending talents as well as shortcomings and trying to get the best out of people and realizing what they're good at and maybe what they're not good at, and trying to use the whole person the best of their abilities you can within our organization. I like managing people. I like the number counting aspect of things.
I need 30 dogs in this program or things like that.
Hey, we're averaging this many dogs a day, and in order for us to be profitable, it needs to be this way. I love the analytics of the business. That's always been a big thing with me, and utilizing people to make the analytics go. So that's always been up my alley, and luckily here I get to do it in scale.
And it works. We work well together with that because I love the creative piece of it. So for me to say, all right, we want to have this program and I want to do this special thing for puppies because puppies are like, everyone loves them and they deserve the best. And I'm like, this is what we want to do. And then there's Cory kind of being like, that's great, but we need this in order to make it functioning. So we complement each other, and it's not always easy to say.
It's not always easy to tell her no. Sometimes you got to make it work. You want to find a way to make it work, but. So, yeah, you provide definitely different attributes to the team.
And my background before this, I worked in several facilities, so I saw pet care, and I did a lot with our trade association, but I also spent a lot of time at 5-6 years or so, maybe more, at Mass Mutual. That's really what gave the business a solid foundation, was that I wasn't relying on this for an income. So I came in, opened up, did what we needed to do, worked my full-time job, came back, took care of things. But that allowed the business to really focus on itself. But it gave me a different perspective. Like when we talk about systems and procedures, I was seeing a corporation who had more employees than we'll ever have, and how that worked, how it streamlined, how information got from the top down, and the communications piece. And I feel like those 2 things together really set us up for success.
Okay. So speaking on Mass Mutual, and you worked there, you've seen their systems. So were you able to implement some of their strategy that you've seen into what you're doing now?
I don't really think it was so different. It's so drastically different that I could see that there was a consistent flow. This is what a manager did, or this is what you were expected to do to report to somebody. Some of those things certainly implied. I don't know that I was able to take a lot of terms like, oh, that was a system that worked for them that could also work for us, because it's just too different. I will say the one thing I can always walk away that I did take from my experience there is just the importance of having your mission and your vision and knowing what your values are and having that kind of guide you with the day-to-day decisions that you have to make.
Probably communication. Probably departments communicating with each other en masse, especially, but you probably took a lot of that from there.
I work on you a lot.
I really don't say it that way.
Cory will go off and have a conversation with this one or have a conversation with that one. And I'm like, how many people got left out if you didn't communicate all the way down the chain? So yeah, that probably did come from there.
Speaking on communication, like every guest always talks about how important communication is. So how are you guys able to have a great communication? Like you have 2 locations. So like how are you able to make sure that all the information, all the systems are all in place with both locations?
That's a good point. So Cory does go back and forth between the 2 places quite a bit. So he sees a lot of that. I think when we make decisions, we start, again, like a trickle down thing. So we'll talk with our facility managers, our core management team, and then relay what the expectations are. I think that's really how it happens. And some things are different. Sometimes Chickpea clients show off. Typically our busier times for dropouts and pickups are earlier. Our camp tends to be a little later in the morning. So we have to say, while we want them to be the same, sometimes there are things that have to vary. And so it's just that constant feedback with the management team. And man, I don't know if you have anything else to add.
Yeah, I think just try to do regular check-ins with the management, especially with new people. We have a really good review set up where we'll walk them through the 90 days and have meetings. And usually a 90-day review, when they become a regular employee, I'll sit in and make sure that we're going over everything. So we try to connect in person. We do a lot of email communication just because we are spread out. If we're trying to get a certain message that was maybe daycare related, that's only going to include managers in that department and maybe the facility manager. So we do communicate different ways. Sometimes it can be difficult in trying just following up and making sure, all right, we sent the message. We know it went to the managers and it should be delivered and now it should be orchestrated, and then you show up and it didn't happen. And sometimes we do have those breakdowns, and as I'm sure any company does, but we try to clean it up and how can we be better next time, because it does happen.
So as current leaders, what are some advice that you can give to the next generation of leaders like myself?
Find what you love, I would say, first and foremost, and work hard. Work hard. Owning a business is hard work. I think that, again, you have to find what you're passionate about, but then you have to be open to the things that maybe you don't like so much. For a good example is you painted this place by hand. I tell you, I hate painting. I think it took me about 20,000 square feet worth of painting to realize that it really wasn't for me. But you did what you had to do. And when you find things that you're really not good at, you either need to get better or learn different methodologies or figure out what you're going to pay out. I'm not an electrician. We needed electrical work early on before Cory. Cory has some skills, but early on I knew that I could do the painting, but not the electrical. So you have to know your limits, and you have to just be willing to keep working at it. Hard work pays off.
Yeah, I think it's easy to look. We're in our mid-40s and have 3 kids, and the business affords us now the flexibility to coach baseball, go to their games, go see their plays, everything. We have that luxury. But that's because of the sacrifice, especially that Elizabeth put in early on. She didn't take a paycheck from here for the first 4.5 years while she was working at Mass Mutual. She was coming in every day, in the morning, in the night, making sure things were running the way they should be, until she was finally able to draw a paycheck and leave, and then have the week come aboard. We almost didn't think we were going to be able to afford that, because Anna put a lot of eggs in one basket. So that's certainly, if something didn't happen, we were a young family now who looking for 2 jobs, not just one. So there's a lot of sacrifice. Like she said, we put a lot of time and energy into the repairs and painting here. King Street, we worked with a general contractor, but we tried to do as much as we could because...
Cory, you did almost all of the demo work in there. You'd be working days here, and I'd come down with the girls at that point and whatever. We didn't do much, just to have them there be involved, but you were ripping out walls and flooring and to make it more cost effective.
It's being able to sacrifice, especially in the beginning, and knowing that it's not easy, but the payoffs can be great. And you also have to, it's hard to do now to maintain that work ethic. It's just us and we're just fighting for us in the business. In the beginning, it's easy, just long nights and hard days. And it's harder now that we have the family and a lot of other things to keep and be as diligent all the time. But you really do have to, because it's the second you turn your eyes away from the attention that needs, things can get out of hand. And we saw that we've gone through some things between COVID, and there was a canine illness a couple of years ago that really hurt our numbers. And the second you stop focusing, you can find yourself in the red real quick.
In my book that I co-wrote with my dad called I Am a CEO, Realistic CEO, we talk about the LBW, and that kind of goes along with your response that you just were saying. So I'm going to read the book real quick and then jump right back in. So, yeah. So the book is called I Am a CEO, Realistic CEO. Everyone has a special dream that can change the world. What's yours? That's the book.
Nice.
Thank you.
Great. That's great.
Thank you. So you talked about how you were relying on this, like eventually to the point where this was like both your income. So you had to make sure that you have to get through. You talked about there's times where you're in the red, like where you have to worry about being in the red, and while we have to make sure that we're able to keep going.
Yeah.
So in the book, Tony talks about the LBW, the long, lonely, boring work. Yep. So can you tell us about the LBW that you guys had to do inside of your career?
Just those early years, they were all long. When I was at Mass Mutual, there was mandatory overtime when I first started. So I was working 45 hours there. And then I don't even know. I might never track my hours here. You just did what had to be done. Leaving late at night, closing the place up, coming in early in the morning. I mean, they were certainly long days. You and I early on with all of our events, I remember sitting here after Yappy Hour when we closed the doors and lock it up, and you just would sit back and take a deep breath, and you knew it was worth it. But it was long.
Yeah, I think especially in the first 5 or 6 years, it was being willing to do whatever was needed to be done. And one day that might be working the front desk, which is fine. You greet your clients. The next day it might be throwing me in the littles with 30 little dogs and saying, hey, we need you to watch this group today. I think just being willing to do whatever needed to be done, especially in the beginning. There's no job that's beneath you. If it's grabbing a scooper and picking up poop, then so be it. It's important that, something needs to be done. You got to show that you're willing to do it. And a lot of times, especially the beginning when you're starting out, that will be the case. You will have to do just about everything.
And it's still true to this day. We go on vacation and bring our laptops, and we sure take time for our family and do things. But payroll day is payroll day, and it's got to happen whether we're away or not. So there's certainly things that even now it's not the same as if you have a normal job and you just clock in and out a 9 to 5 kind of like I go in, I take my paycheck and go home. This certainly is something that follows us everywhere we go.
Yeah, certainly after 5 o'clock at night and all hours of the evening sometimes.
Oh, I love the 5 types of work. You'll have to go over them again, but I think they're hard work, obviously. Teamwork is something we didn't really touch on, but I mean, this takes a village. I mean, and our staff, they're just passionate pet people. Everyone in here loves the animals, and that's the kind of their driving force. They're not in here because they're making $1 million. They're in here because they believe in what they do, and they believe in our mission as well. What else did you have in there for types of work?
So the 5 types of work are working hard, working smart, working right, teamwork, and then networking.
Working smart, I'd say that's you every day crunching our numbers. How are we doing? What's our staff ratios? Are we safe, but are we profitable? There's so much that just goes into the day-to-day part.
Yeah, sometimes there's things that with the work smart, sometimes there's things that you want to do or want to offer, but maybe it just isn't the right time for it, or it's not going to be profitable. You might have to shelve it, rewrite it, come up with maybe a new plan that will make money for the company. So working smart is very, very important. Networking, obviously, we're a big part of the community, and we try to network through not just local chambers and stuff like that, but we do a lot of work with TJO, where we try to
just local animal.
Yeah.
The shelter in Springfield, you didn't know.
Trying to provide an avenue for us, the business and our clients, to give back to the community and support the local animals that are around here that need help.
You said something too about working. I think ethics and morals are huge. One of our integrity and excellence are some of our core values. And we're not somebody that's just taking every single dog to get every single dollar in their whatever in crates, or they're not right. Sometimes it's hard to maybe, to reject the dogs. We don't accept every dog. They go through a strict evaluation process. And it's hard sometimes to tell somebody that their dog isn't the right fit, but it's the right thing to do. And I think that's something that I certainly take pride in. It's not always easy, but it's the right thing to do for staff safety and for the other animals who are here.
Yep.
So I just have a couple more questions for you. So like you both work together and then you go home together, and how are you able to balance your work and life?
I
don't know what you think or not.
Maybe what do you write that book?
It can be challenging. I answer Elizabeth, and she's the owner of the company. It can be very challenging to go home and take off the general manager, president hat, put on the husband, father hat. and wife. That can be, it can be hard to draw lines sometimes.
And technology is such that you can pick up a cell phone and call at any. So we're in constant contact, and sometimes it's hard to be like, okay, this is a phone call about the kids versus this thing at work, and so the lines do tend to blur. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's 100% true. I certainly wouldn't give anything that we have now up or anything. But there are days where we had different jobs and just had the half-hour phone call at work, and that's all we had, and it was nice. And now it's every 2 seconds. It's, hey, would you check on this? Hey, Hey, Elizabeth, did you pick this up? Are you going to get this? Are you talking to somebody else? We talk to each other way more throughout the day, but I feel like it's always, we don't maybe connect during the day like we used to, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And sometimes it'd be hard when we go home because it was the same like we just talked about, as far as there's no punch clock where you're timing out from the business that you own. With the amount of employees we have, you're going home and then you're discussing face to face. So what happened today? This happened. All right. Hey, we need this done. Planning out the rest of the week, the day, that what needs to be, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I do think that those things are important. We kind of joke, but we don't do it. But it's always a goal. Like, how do we get better at not necessarily say this is work and this is life or home life, but, about making sure that we nurture all areas of that. Because if one falls apart, the others aren't. You want to make sure that you embrace that. And it doesn't all have to be all work all the time, but, that is something that you can't totally ever really give up.
Yeah. You guys talked about like the challenging times, like the first couple of years where you had to really figure out how to make this work. But what is like the fun times? What are like some of your most favorite moments that you've had working here so far?
What about you?
I think working together on the construction projects we've had, whether it's like getting this new space and we get together and paint it, do what we want with it, or plan it out. I've really liked the planning phases, like planning Northampton when we opened that location was great. We got to sit down with basically a blank slate of a 12,000 square foot building and say, how do we want this? And we together came up with exactly how to design it, and seeing that through for the 3-month process come to fruition and working together, having the kids in there and they're painting doors and we're painting walls, and that was really rewarding and really fun and great for all of us to be involved on a level. So I love the kind of special projects we do. I wish we did more events, but sometimes when we used to be able to connect with events, there's a lot of sponsored events around that we can be part of. We used to have a lot of fun during those. We haven't done so much lately with the kids, but those are some of my favorite things.
One of my favorite things, and it was true early on, and it's still true today, is I love when I'm out and I've got like a shirt on or something, and somebody will be like, oh, look, a dog spa. I bring my dog there, or my neighbor brings their dog there, and they just start telling me like something fabulous about the place, and I don't know. They're like, oh, do you work there? And sometimes I'll even just say, yes, I do, or just leave it simple and just listen. But a lot of times I do say, thank you. I appreciate hearing that, because it means so much to me to hear, not like a solicited, like the people that come here will be like, oh, sure, you guys are great. But I love when we're out. I was in the airport coming back from Florida one day, and this was a couple of years ago already. And somebody, like 3 people behind, was, excuse me, is that the good dog spot in Massachusetts? Mm-hmm. They went on, and I was like, yeah. And so it was just really cool to see like our vision, our mission, like out of the world, not inside these walls.
I love how you both have your favorite experience. I love how yours was like you love the planning and you love being at the time where you had the family time painting and all that. And then yours is when you realize that this business is bigger than me and people generally enjoy coming here with their animals. So I think it's funny, like when people ask me those questions, I feel like I have more a similar response to you. And then when people ask my dad questions about what we're doing, he has a similar response to you. So I thought that was funny. Yeah. So I just have one last question for both of you. Sure. And it's, what's one fun fact that nobody really knows about you?
I don't know. Go first.
One fun fact. I don't know.
Boy. I'll say, you know what? I've recently taken to birds. Our house is like, there's birds in our house, and one of them, I've taken some of the dog training stuff here, and she can like wave and spit, and so I'm teaching birds the same way we teach dogs. I think that's pretty fun right now.
You're just an animal person.
Yeah, a bit like that sometimes. In 3rd grade, I decided I was going to run a pet store, so that's what this story spoke to me, because I said I want to own a pet store and be with all these animals, and I said I don't really want a pet store, but this is where I've got animals all over the place.
Yeah, so the only fun fact is I don't say no to Elizabeth when she's so why would that?
Oh man, that's awesome. And that's really amazing how you, like, in 3rd grade you knew that this is what you're gonna do. So for you to, now that your answer makes a lot more sense when you said when you enjoy when people come up to you and say that they enjoy your location, because now you're like, wow. So not only is that your third grade self being excited, now as you realize that all the hard work that you put in is actually paying off. So I thank both of you for coming on to the Real Estate CEO podcast. I truly appreciate it, especially this being like the first one where I had two people on at the same time. So I thought it was pretty cool. So
Yeah,
thank you.
great.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for coming on. And I want to thank every single one of you for all the support that you have shown me in this past year, my journey of becoming the realistic CEO. So ways that you can support even more is by going onto the website www.realisticCEO and ordering your copy of the Realistic CEO book. Also, you can order your copy of the Realistic CEO podcast magazine, where we connect the current leaders with the future generation of leaders. And then lastly, the even bigger way to support is by going onto the website and donating. And what you do by donating is you allow us to go into schools and give back to the community by giving the book Realistic CEO. Thank you. See you in the next episode. Peace.